As it happened, the new Lieutenant Governor, Sir Ronald Garvey, had experience of setting up a radio station in Fiji, and in March 1960 he authorised the establishment by the Manx government of a company called Radio Manx Limited, of which Harold Colburn, recently elected in MHK, became chairman, with directors who included the Manx Attorney General, the Government Secretary, and politicians Howard Simcox, W.E. Quayle, R.S. Stephen and T.E. Brownsden. As a result of the persuasive arguments of Harold Colburn, support was also promised by broadcasting industry heavyweights such as the Canadian media tycoon Roy Thomson, Sir Joseph Lockwood, the head of EMI, and the impresario Tom Arnold. With high hopes, Radio Manx Limited applied for a sound radio licence from the Post Office, but in May 1961 it was refused. The Postmaster General gave as his reason the fact that it was the UK government's policy that the BBC should have a monopoly of sound broadcasting in Britain, though he suggested that the Manx Radio case should be put to the Pilkington Committee, then sitting to review broadcasting policy in the UK. This was a diplomatic manoeuvre designed to deflect the issue and play for time, because even the Pilkington Committee admitted that its remit did not include the Isle of Man. In any case, it eventually produced a very conservative report, which, among other things, came down strongly in favour of the BBC's continued monopoly of radio and against commercial radio operations. The obvious constitutional way round this problem was for Tynwald to ask the UK to revoke the order in council which, at its request at the time, had extended the 1949 Wireless Telegraphy Act to the island in 1952. Accordingly, in January 1962, Tynwald voted unanimously in favour of this action. London then asked for talks, and in March the newly elected Speaker of the Keys, Charles Carrouche, led a deputation to Westminster to present the island's case. In London, Sir Charles Cunningham, on behalf of the Home Office, explained that the island's request to open a radio station that could transmit to Europe was impossible to grant, because in 1959 Britain had signed up to the Geneva Convention on International Communication, which had agreed to forbid the establishment of any more radio transmitters. As a result of what Whitehall claimed to be a genuine oversight, this had been done without consulting or even informing Tynwald. Despite being apologetic on this count, the UK government also remained entirely opposed to the idea of a powerful Manx radio flooding British airwaves with pop music and other possibly undesirable programmes. Not only would this break the BBC's jealously preserved monopoly, but listeners in the UK would have no redress against Manx radio through their MPs, so it was claimed. In the past, the Isle of Man might well have accepted these arguments meekly enough, but Charles Carrouche was furious with the way his deputation had been treated, claiming that we met the Home Office officials and found that they had an attitude towards the Isle of Man which was completely outdated. Carrouche was a politician of formidable personality with considerable oratorical skills and a good grasp of strategy and tactics. Since his election to the House of Keys in 1946, he had gradually become convinced that the island had to free itself from the political control of Westminster as much as possible if it was to make any real progress. Already the chairman of the Health and Social Services Board, he was elected the youngest ever Speaker of the Keys in February 1962, and soon afterwards he was appointed chairman of the Governor's Executive Council. This gave him unprecedented political authority, which, together with his own determination and the full support of Sir Ronald Garvey, made him a powerful force. In April 1962, Carrouche moved an emergency resolution in Tynwald to the effect that, despite the failure of the recent talks, Tynwald should proceed with a bill to empower the Lieutenant Governor to issue a licence for wireless transmissions from the Isle of Man, and also to petition the Queen for a revocation of the 1952 Order in Council. Carrouche's grasp of the island's legal and constitutional case was excellent, and he explained it very clearly, having no difficulty in getting the motion through with a big majority. By the end of June 1962, the necessary legislation had passed its third reading in Tynwald, and the bill was sent to London in the normal way to receive the royal assent. But it was at this point that the advantage lay with the UK government, because it had the constitutional power to advise the Queen to withhold her assent. On the other hand, Whitehall wished to avoid a confrontation if possible, so it asked for more talks.